So what is the nature of the informal sector in Ghana? The informal businesses are employing over 80%. A recent studies also point out that, in fact, the proportion has even gone up to 88% of the active working population.
The SMEs are really the backbone of the economy of Ghana.
I started as an informal operator with the chicken at the back of my house. After 2 years, I realized that the chicken business at the back of my house was giving me even more money than what I was getting from my employment. I therefore decided to look seriously at the chicken business. On and on and on, from 100 chicks, I grew to about 200,000 chicken on the Afari farms.
Samba Food started as a micro initiative in my kitchen in 1993. Today, the company Samba Foods is a listed company on the Ghana Stock Exchange under the the exchange arrangement. I started alone with my 2 children, where we're helping in labeling. Then we went to about 5 employees. Today we are about 25 of us, and of course about 15 casuals when there is a lot of work to be done.
I had interest to go into the subject of informal businesses and the SMEs when I was the president of the AGI. I conducted a research into the formalization of informal businesses. And in fact, I used that as part of my requirements for a doctorate degree. Then, following from that, I decided that the things that I have gathered in the research should be put into a book form so that we can get policymakers and everybody who is interested in the growth of the informal sector can have a good reference book that they can look at. I have organized this book into 8 chapters. The first 4 chapters deal specifically with the informal sector in Ghana. The next 2 chapters deal with informal sectors in other African countries. And then the last chapter deals with the recommendations on policies that we have to adopt if we want to grow our informal sector.
What you realize in Ghana economy is that most businesses or the small medium enterprises become me too. When they see a friend into selling this, they also jump into selling it. There's no data research to support it. When you basically look at the book that's been written by Nana Owusu-Afari, it really points to the things that need to be done to improve this sector, which I see that is a really knowledge-based, fundamental to teach.
So one may ask, what are the drawbacks to the growth of the informal businesses and small businesses? What we have researched and found out is that the government's recognition of the informal sector is a little bit on the lower side. The government is trying to do something, but it doesn't cover the whole spectrum of activities of the informal sector. They have a lot of challenges. If these challenges are addressed in policy by the government, we are hopeful that the informal businesses could gradually be formalized so that they can contribute meaningfully and positively to the development of the Ghana economy. We put a whole lot of suggestions which our policy makers we think should have a look at to be able to at least strategically pick some of them and develop as other countries are doing. Apart from this, we also realize that a lot of them face capital challenges. They don't have money. So we are suggesting that they should form cooperatives and groups so that they can come together and then raise monies. And this also is stated in the book. The metropolitan assemblies, the district assemblies should try to look at the spatial development of their various areas and allocate areas where we can develop and put this kiosk nicely.
2007, I'm back, and I'm be DH. But I'm a driving over village. I'm in Accra. Until me back 2007, be DH, but say 2-3 months. And sana me who send ya hard driving in city, and then me started driving. Me started driving na me saka stamina me told me where 2010, 2011. Na me didn't know muka kakra sa be for me sa break.
Winglo has been in the system for so long, 34 years now, and to think that we started with only just one machine to industrial machines, to a whole factory, manufacturing, production, sewing for customers, and also now training.
I have operated as an informal businessman before I formalized. And a lot of Ghanaian businesses started as informal. But the majority that we are finding now, they are all operating informally, and they are not getting any incentives to really formalize and operate and become bigger. But what we are even seeing in some of the research findings is that some of the bigger formalized companies are now becoming informal because there are not enough incentives to keep them formalized.
We've had a lot of recognition, including the state, honor, member of the Order of the Volta. And from just producing shuttle to, actually be honored by the state is something very, very heartwarming.
We've trained more than 500 people, and the pleasure and the joy is seeing them also set up their own businesses. It's been very fulfilling.
One of the questions that one may want to ask is, what are the prescriptions that we have proposed in this book? And I would say that the first thing that we are trying to get policymakers to understand is that they should create the conditions for informal sector businesses to grow so that they can contribute to employment creation and poverty reduction. There is a need for institutional and legal framework to back informal businesses. Now they are operating anyhow. Wherever anybody finds himself, he operates. And like I said earlier on, the informal business is spread across all sectors of the economy. You won't find them in only one sector. Everywhere, including services, there are informality in all these areas. Then there should therefore be a broad policy framework to guide them and guide everybody whose action is impacted by the informal businesses. One other important thing that we discover is that when policymakers or government are taking decisions, they don't involve these people in the decision making.
One of the things also I pointed out in Nana's book is cooperation. And we said in the tree that we are growing from able. When they come together to form associations or cooperative to work together, whether they are farmers growing tomato or growing onions, if they come together, and of course, with that small association, then they can go look for some funds.
These are the things that we have tried to put in the book. In chapter 8, you find a whole list in which we have described fully what we think should be the policy considerations for government officials and policymakers.
I think this is a book that came at the right time, that we are going to take it and educate these SMEs in order to grow their businesses.
Wamiamva kuyante na meni Momento mpona nya krabare No me yesi machara